Okay, so we are starting the event. So hello everyone, happy Dasera and welcome to the GDSC ITR and MLSA collab event. Here we are going to teach you the complete Azure fundamentals and we are going to help you in the preparation for Azure 900 certification. So can anyone just confirm whether the screen is visible and my voice is clearly audible?
Yeah, visible.
Yes, Bhaiya,
What do you
it's
get?
audible and visible.
Okay, thank you. So a complete workshop on Azure fundamentals. So I am the organizer of this event, Bravis Ghosh, the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador of ITR, and the guest speakers, Akash Das and Amisha Jaiswal. We all are Microsoft certified Azure 900, and we are going to uh, perform this workshop for 3 days continuously and help you get acquainted with the complete Azure fundamentals. So about this event, if you are facing any issues or about any doubts or any kind of issues regarding the coupons that we are going to give you or the certificates, then you can mail me at this email ID. So I am a junior in computer science engineering branch at ITR. I'm the GDSC lead. Can everyone please mute themselves? Okay, thanks. So yeah, I'm also the MLSA and I'm the Microsoft Certified Azure Fundamentals MLS Mentor, GitLab Certified Associate, and GAN Specialized. So this is a little bit about myself. So some FAQs about this cloud study jam that we are going to organize for 3 days. So why is GDSC ITR in collaboration with MLSA organizing this event? Microsoft certified members from our club are going to share their knowledge and experiences to help other students to pass the Azure 900 certification. But in no way we are experts. We are also students, so you can't expect us to be experts. But we are going to do our best to explain as much as we have learned and help you in getting a better understanding and preparation for the exam. So what are the benefits of this Azure 900 certification? Azure 900 is the foundational level certification for Azure Cloud Services. Passing this exam proves your foundational level knowledge in Azure Cloud Services. Certification and knowledge in Azure may provide better job opportunities to you. This certification may increase the chances for earning more in your current job as well. What are the benefits of this event? So the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, that is me, I'm going to provide you some discount coupons and certificate of participation to all the attendees who attend all 3 sessions. And at the end of each session, we will be providing you a feedback form that you have to fill with your email ID and name so that we can track that whether you have attended the complete session and so that we can help you in any way possible we can try to give you some coupons or and even the certificate of participation by MLSA. This is a free event organized voluntarily by the official members of GDSC ITR who have passed the Azure 900 exam. This is a live session, so attendees can feel free to ask the doubts in the chat box, and we shall try our best to answer all of them. But make sure that you don't unmute yourself in between the session so that we can maintain a proper decorum in the whole workshop. Also, attending all 3 sessions will make you Azure ready and confident to appear for Azure 900 certification exam. So this is the most important thing about this event, that if you completely watch this workshop alongside us, then you will be prepared for the exam. So this is the overview of the complete Azure 900 exam syllabus. So it has 6 parts basically. Um, so let me first show you the module so that you can know where the actual materials are available. like the official documents and documentations by Microsoft Learn. So this is where you can find the actual documentation for this Azure 900 certification, that is for Azure fundamentals. So there are, you can see there are 6 modules, like 6 parts.
I'm sorry, everyone. I guess Travis is having some issues. Uh, Please have patience and let me connect him and I'll come back.
Hello everyone. Was there any issues or on my side?
Yeah, Travis, you are disconnected.
Yeah. So is my screen visible right now?
It isn't visible.
No, Bhaiya.
Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience. So is it visible now?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, were you able to hear till this part where I was explaining the modules?
Yeah, you are there.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So there are 6 parts in this Azure fundamentals in the official documentation by Microsoft Learn, and in each part there are even more modules. So it will take time, but you can complete it in few days or few weeks. But we are trying to cover it in 3 days and help you in getting a complete Azure prepared. Okay, so for applying for this exam, you have to first go to the bottom section of this page. Let me share the link. So this is the official module, and yeah. So to schedule your exam, you can just click here, schedule with Pearson VUE, and then you can continue. Okay, so let's get back to our workshop. So yeah, this is the syllabus of this Azure fundamentals, and 3 of us, that is myself, Ravish Ghosh, Akash Das, and Amit Shah Jaiswal, we 3 are going to cover all 6 sections and make you completely prepared for this exam. So today I'm going to start with Azure core concepts and some cloud concepts. So first of all, what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services, including servers, storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, intelligence, and more over the internet, which we call as the cloud, to offer faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. Now let's discuss some characteristics of cloud computing. First is on-demand self-service. That is, it enables the client to constantly monitor the service uptime, abilities, and alerted network storage. Next is broad network access. The client can access the cloud data or transfer the data to the cloud from any place just with a device and internet connection. Next is resource pooling. It means that a cloud service provider can share resources among several clients, providing everyone with a different set of services as per their requirements. The next is rapid elasticity. This cloud characteristic enables cost-effective running of workloads that require a vast number of servers, but only for a short period. These four are the main characteristics of cloud computing. You may find some questions based on this, but this is just for your basic knowledge. The more important part is the advantages of cloud computing. So these are 6 most important advantages of cloud computing that you will face some questions based on this in the exam. So the 6 most important advantages of cloud computing are high availability, scalability, elasticity, agility, geo-distribution, and disaster recovery. Now let's discuss each of them briefly. First comes high availability. Depending on service level agreement, that is SLA, you choose, your cloud-based apps can provide continuous user experience with apparently no downtime, even when things go wrong. Scalability. Applications in cloud can scale vertically and horizontally. They can scale vertically to increase the compute capacity by adding RAM or CPUs to VM. VM means virtual machine. So scale up, that is these few words like scale up, scale down, scale out, scale in. These will be some important terms that we have to remember for the exam, as they can appear within the question. So in scalability, we have scale up and scale down properties under the vertical scalability. So scale up means increase the workload on current resources. Scale down means decrease the workload on current resources. As for horizontal scalability, it is meant to increase compute capacity by adding instances of resources, such as adding VMs to the configuration. Next comes elasticity. You can configure cloud-based apps to take advantage of auto scaling, so your apps always have the resources they need. Here we have scale out and scale in properties under elasticity. Scale out means increase the workload on additional resources, and scale in means remove the workload on additional resources. So here you can see the difference between scale up, scale down, and scale out, scale in. Here we have additional resources. Please mute yourself. If you don't have any issues, then you can mute yourself. Thanks. So you have to know the difference between scale up, scale down, and scale out, scale in. So these two are associated with elasticity, and these two are associated with scalability. The next is agility. Deploy and configure cloud-based resources quickly as your app requirements change. For example, provisions or decommissions cloud services in minutes using self-services. The next one is geo-distribution. You can deploy apps and data to regional data centers around the globe, thereby ensuring that your customers always have the best performance in their region. So this part you will get to know more in Azure architecture as well, which we'll be covering in our coming slides. So yeah, the next is disaster recovery. By taking advantage of disaster recovery, built-in cloud-based backup services and data replication, you can deploy your apps with the confidence that your data is safe in the event of disaster. So those are the various advantages of cloud computing, and you may get some questions from here. And now comes the most important part of the first module, that is the different cloud models that are available in our cloud computing. So for deployment model, we have three kinds of clouds. That is public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. And in service model, we have software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Now we will discuss each of them very briefly. First comes the public cloud. Services offered over public internet and available to anyone who wants to purchase them. Cloud resources such as servers and storage are owned and operated by third-party cloud service provider. No capital expenditures to scale up. Only pay for what you use. Apps can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. So these are the properties of public cloud. Now comes private cloud. Hardware must be purchased for the startup and maintenance. Organizations have complete control over resources and security. Organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. Dedicated infrastructure, higher cost, and highly secure. Then comes hybrid cloud. Is there any issue? Or my screen is visible and my voice is clearly audible?
The screen is visible and your voice is also audible, Bhaiya.
Okay, thank you. The next is hybrid cloud. It is a computing environment that combines a public cloud and private cloud by allowing data and applications to be shared between them. Organizations determine where they run their applications. Organizations control security, compliance, or legal requirements. Also, hybrid cloud provides the most flexibility among all the three kinds of deployment models. So now let's test your knowledge regarding all the three kinds of deployment clouds that we discussed. So suppose you have two types of applications. Legacy applications that require specialized mainframe hardware and newer applications that can run on commodity hardware. Which cloud deployment model would be best for you? Although the answer is visible, if anyone knows the answer, then you can write it in the chat box.
Bhaiya, the chat box is disabled, I think.
Okay. Okay, never mind. Just see. So the answer for this is hybrid cloud. Now, why is this hybrid cloud and not public cloud or private cloud? So hybrid cloud, it has the benefit of both private cloud, that is you need for running your legacy application, and it has the benefit of public cloud, which you can utilize for running your newer application. So Sorry for the inconvenience. So, okay. Can you confirm whether my screen is visible and am I audible?
You're audible, but the screen isn't visible.
Okay, okay.
Yes, now visible.
Okay, yeah. So in hybrid cloud, we have both the properties of private cloud as well as public cloud. And here we have to maintain two kinds of application that use both the properties of public cloud and private cloud. So it is advantageous to use hybrid cloud in this case. You will receive this kind of questions where they will test your understanding level during the exam. Okay, so the next question is, which cloud model provides the greatest degree of ownership and control? Okay, guys, you can unmute yourself and answer if you know the answer. There is no issue. If anyone knows the answer, then they can unmute and they can explain why. Okay, so let me explain. So it has asked that which cloud model provides the greatest degree of ownership and control. So the answer will be private cloud. Why so? Because in both public cloud and hybrid cloud, they have the infrastructure that is managed by another party. So there is less control over the infrastructure. But in private cloud, let's get back to the properties of private cloud. As you can see, the organizations have complete control over resources and security. Also, the organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. So the most power is in the hands of the organization for the private cloud. So they have the greatest degree of ownership and control in the private cloud. Now let's discuss the various service models. So the first comes software as a service. Software that is centrally hosted by the cloud service provider. It typically requires subscription. Service provider is responsible for the application and underlying infrastructure. The examples of SaaS, that is software as a service, is Microsoft 365, Google Apps, Salesforce, Citrix, etc. The next one is platform as a service, that is PaaS. The properties of PaaS are pre-built services provided by the service provider. Service provider is responsible for infrastructure, operating systems, management, backups. Customer is responsible for their application. Examples: Azure Web Apps, Azure SQL Database, etc. The next service model is infrastructure as a service, that is IaaS. The properties of IaaS are services hosted by cloud service provider. Service provider is responsible for infrastructure. Customer is responsible for the operating system, configurations, backups, etc. The examples are Azure VM, networks, etc. Okay. So before getting into the two kinds of expenses, I will give a very small kind of outlook over what we had discussed right now. So the most important part here is that you will find some questions where they give some practical examples or applications, and then they ask what kind of service model or deployment model that we are going to use for this scenario. So you have to understand the various properties of these clouds and the service models so that you can get an idea that which one is being used in which case. So for that purpose, these are the basic properties which will help you in understanding in which case you have to use which cloud model or which cloud service. We'll be providing these slides. So if you are noting them in your notes, then it's very fine. Otherwise, if you fill the feedback form, we will mail you the slides as well, as this will be helpful in your exam. So just a second, guys. Let me see why the chat box is not working. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Okay. So now we are going to discuss the two kinds of expenses. There are two kinds of expenses: capital expenditure, that is capex, and operational expenditure, that is opex. In capital expenditure, that is capex, these are the some basic properties that you have to remember. The capex is associated with on-premises infrastructure. Here you are seeing that a new word comes up, that is on-premise. So you can face some questions based on the the distinction between on-premises and cloud services. So the on-premise software is installed locally on your business computers and servers, whereas the cloud software is hosted on the vendor's server and accessed via a web browser. So you can just understand it like the on-premises are just kind of the opposite of the cloud services. Okay, so in capex, it is associated with on-premises infrastructure, and we pay for upfront costs. It provides predictable fixed costs. Now, what are some disadvantages of capex? The value decreases over time and wasted resources when the project is over. Okay, so these are the disadvantages of capex. Now let's go to opex. That is operational expenditure. It is associated with cloud services. Here we will face two extra terms. So you have to remember this. That is ongoing billing costs and consumption-based model. So ongoing billing cost means that is you spend money on services or products now and being billed for them now. Consumption-based model means pay for the product or service as you use it. So in this case, we have to pay for upfront costs, but here you have to pay the cost as you use it. That is, it follows the consumption-based model. Now we have seen a few disadvantages here. That is, the value decreases over time and there is also wastage of resources once the project is over. So OPEX has benefits over there. So the benefits are you can test before consumption. You can also delete resources when your task is done. It is also great for agile environment. So here you have to remember that the CapEx is associated with on-premises infrastructure and the OPEX is associated with cloud services. Also the difference between on-premise and cloud software, and also the consumption-based model and ongoing billing costs. So these are few terms that you have to keep in mind, so that in the examination it will just use these terms, and then you can understand what it is trying to say. So these are all some basic concepts about cloud computing, you can say. But now let's get started with Azure. So what is Azure? Azure is a continually expanding set of cloud services provided by Microsoft that helps your organization to meet your current and future business challenges. Azure gives you the freedom to build, manage, and deploy applications on a massive global network using your favorite tools and frameworks. Here are some properties of Azure. So, why is Azure beneficial? So, Azure is beneficial because cloud computing is good and you can trust your cloud. Get security from the ground up, backed by a team of experts, and proactive compliance trusted by enterprises, governments, and startups. Operate hybrids seamlessly, on premises, across multiple clouds, and at the edge. We will meet you where you are. Integrate and manage your environments with services designed for hybrid cloud. Build on your terms. With a commitment to open source and support for all languages and frameworks, build, build how you want and deploy where you want. Be future ready. Continuous innovation from Microsoft supports your development today and your product visions for tomorrow. So now let's talk about a few terms that are used in Azure. First is Azure subscription. To create and use Azure services, we need the Azure subscription. Learn Sandbox. So this is a temporary subscription that is provided in the Learn module so that students can use the Azure services for free. Uh, you were seeing a few months ago that I was showing my screen in the Learn module. So once you enter the module, you will also get some practical experiences where you can use Azure using this Learn Sandbox. There are two kinds of accounts for Azure accounts. So first is the Azure free account and another is Azure free student account. In Azure free account, you get free access to popular Azure products for 12 months. You get credit to be spent for first 30 days. You get access to more than 25 products that are always free. In Azure free student account, you get free access to certain Azure services for 12 months, credit to be used in first 12 months, free access to certain software and developer tools for the students. Next is the Azure portal. So, web-based unified console, alternative to command line tools. With Azure portal, we can manage Azure subscription using GUI. Build, manage, monitor from simple web apps to complex cloud deployments. Create custom dashboards. Configure accessibility options for an optimal experience. So here you can see the image of Azure Azure portal, and here you can see the different available, you can say, icons for the GUI and also for the subscription, and you can also create your own dashboard. So in examination, what kind of questions you will get is that, of course, there will be some MCQ questions, MSQ questions. That is, MCQ means multiple choice, and MSQ means multiple select questions. You may also get some images kind of questions, like figure questions, where they will say which is the resource group in the Azure portal, and then they will show this image or something like that. Then you have to click on the image and select which is the resource group or what. They won't mention all these things, but there will be the icons. So for that, you also have to have the visual understanding of how the Azure software looks. So for this purpose, I have put this image. So this is the image of the Azure portal. The next is Azure Marketplace. Connect with Microsoft partners, independent software vendors, startups using Azure. Customer can purchase products. All solutions and services are certified to run on Azure. Azure Marketplace is designed for IT pros and cloud developers interested in commercial and IT software. So here you can see this is the image for the marketplace, that is Azure Marketplace. These are the different options that you can see here. I'm not sure if it is visible clearly, but you can just zoom in and see in your screen as well. Okay, so yeah, so this is the marketplace. This is one of the most important features that you will face in the exam as well. That is, what are the different Azure services? In future, also in these 3 days, we are going to explain this in a very well-mannered way. But right now, I'm just showing you the most important image where you can see the different security and management tools, the platform services, the infrastructure services. The here you can see media and CDN, media services, media analytics. All these are visible. And anyways, if you want this image, then you can see it in the module as well. It is present there. So, so yeah, here let's take a 2 minutes break and you try to see this image properly, and if it's visible or not, just can someone confirm all these written things like Azure Logic App.
It is visible.
Okay. Yeah, so you just keep a look at this for 2 minutes and I'll be then moving forward with the next section.
ඒක හලෝ ජීමින් විතරක් කියන සින්දුවක්ද? ඒක ජීමින් විතරක්ද කියන්නේ සින්දුව? එයාලගේ BTS
Okay, guys. So I hope that you have seen this image properly. Yeah. So basically, this is one of the most important topics, that is Azure services. Based on this, you will get a lot of questions in the exam, and we are also going to discuss each of them very properly uh, in the upcoming slides and sections. So yeah, I will just show once more the diagrams. So yeah, this is the Azure portal. Okay, this is the marketplace, and this is the Azure services. Now comes the Azure architecture. So in Azure architecture, we have something called Azure region. So Azure region is a geographical area on the planet containing at least one, but potentially multiple data centers that are nearby and networked together with a low latency network. Azure intelligently assigns and controls the resources within each region to ensure workloads are appropriately balanced. So in this diagram, you can see the various areas. So these are the Azure regions that are available. You can also see this image in the module as well. So the next is Azure availability zones. Azure availability zones are physically separate data centers within an Azure region. Each availability zone is made up of one or more data centers equipped with independent power, cooling, and networking. An availability zone is set up to be an isolation boundary. If one zone goes down, the other continues working. Availability zones are connected through high-speed private fiber optic networks. So this is the inside the Azure region, you can see the different availability zones. So now let's test your knowledge. Deploying an app can be done directly to what level of physical granularity? So deploying an app can be done directly to what level of physical granularity? As you had seen, the Azure region, it is a geographical area on the planet containing at least one, but potentially multiple data centers. So the answer for this will be region. The next is to use Azure data centers that are made available with power, cooling, and networking capabilities independent from other data centers in a region. Choose a region that supports fill in the blank. So this will be availability zones. So to use Azure data centers that are made available with power, cooling, networking capabilities. All these are the properties of Azure zone availability zones that we had seen here. Here we had seen that it is each availability zone is equipped with independent power, cooling, and networking. So these are the properties of Azure availability zone. So this is all that we would like to cover in module 1. Now let's continue with module 2. So for this, okay, so before we continue, I'd like to just tell a little bit more about what kind of questions that we'll be facing from module 1. So in this slide, you can see that the module 1 has, that is the cloud concepts cover a lot of, uh, area, but in exam, it doesn't guarantee that you will face all the questions from, as it is said in here. So you may face questions from different areas. So you have to understand each and every module very perfectly. So right now we have covered the cloud concepts. Now we will be starting with Azure services. So I hope that Amisha can just confirm whether she is. So Amisha, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, yes, Pravesh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. I can hear
Okay.
you. So
Okay. So
just
let
give
me
me,
just present my screen, or
yeah,
should I give them? Should we give them 5 minutes break?
yeah, we should give them a 5 minutes break, I guess. You
Okay. So
can try
let's give
to,
them five.
you can try to
Present my
share your,
screen till then. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. I'll just do that.
So everyone, welcome
Okay.
our
So
guest speaker, Amisha Jaswal.
okay. So is my screen visible?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Hi everyone. A very happy Dussehra to all of you. I am Amisha Jaiswal. I'm in my pre-final year of CSC branch, and we'll be covering the second learning part today. So just go have some water. We'll have a 5 minutes break and then we'll get started with this. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I think we should start now.
Yes, we can start now.
Okay. So today we will be covering the part 2 learning path of Azure AZ900 exam. So let's get started with the Azure Compute Services. So Azure Compute is an on-demand computing service for running cloud-based applications. It provides computing resources such as disk, processors, memory, networking, and operating systems. Azure supports a wide range of computing solutions for development, testing, running applications, and extending your data center. It also has many services that can run virtual machines. Each service provides different options depending on your requirements. Some of the most prominent services are Azure Virtual Machines, Azure Container Instances, Azure App Service, and Azure Functions. These are very important core topics that you can expect a lot of questions from, so do pay attention. Virtual machines are software emulations of physical computers. With Azure Virtual Machines, you can create and use VMs in the cloud. Virtual machines provide infrastructure as a service and can be used in different ways. When you need total control over an operating system and environment, VMs are always an ideal choice. Virtual machine scale sets. Virtual machine scale sets are an Azure compute resource that you can use to deploy and manage a set of identical VMs. With all the VMs configured the same, virtual machine scale sets are designed to support true auto scale. No pre-provisioning of VMs is required. For this reason, it's easier to build large-scale services targeting big compute, big data, and containerized workloads. Containers and Kubernetes. Container instances and Azure Kubernetes Service are Azure compute resources that you can use to deploy and manage containers. Now, what are containers? Containers are lightweight, virtualized application environments. They are designed to be quickly created, scaled out, and stopped dynamically. You can run multiple instances of a containerized application on a single host machine. I hope I'm audible to you all.
Yes, you're
Yes,
audible.
Dee.
Okay. So we'll first discuss app service. With Azure App Service, you can quickly build, deploy, and scale enterprise-grade web, mobile, and API apps running on any platform. You can meet rigorous performance, scalability, security, and compliance requirements while using a fully managed platform to perform infrastructure maintenance. App Service is a platform as a service offering. So guys, do remember different applications use different services. Some use platform as a service, some use software as a service, some use infrastructure as a service. It's very important to remember which particular application uses which one, because you could be asked tricky questions regarding this. Functions. Functions are ideal when you're concerned only about the code running your service and not underlying platform or infrastructure. They are commonly used when you need to perform work in response to an event, timer, or message from another Azure service, and when that work can be completed quickly within seconds or less. Now, how to decide when to use Azure virtual machines? VMs are an ideal choice when you need total control over an operating system, the ability to run custom software, and to use custom hosting configurations. Azure, it has several uptime features, which include virtual machine scale sets and Azure Batch. Virtual machine scale sets let you create and manage a group of identical load balanced VMs. The number of VM instances can automatically increase or decrease in response to demand or a defined schedule. With virtual machine scale sets, you can build large-scale services for areas such as compute, big data, and container workloads. Azure Batch. Azure Batch enables large-scale parallel and high-performing computing batch jobs with the ability to scale to tens, hundreds, or thousands of VMs. Deciding when to use Azure App Service. App service enables you to build and host web apps, background jobs, mobile backends, and RESTful APIs in the programming language of your choice without managing any infrastructure. The platform as a service environment allows you to focus on the website and API logic while Azure handles the infrastructure to run and scale your web application. Now, the types of web services, there are 4: web apps, API apps, web jobs, and mobile apps. Azure Container Instances or Azure Kubernetes Service. What are containers? Containers are a virtualization environment, much like running multiple virtual machines on a single physical host. You can run multiple containers on a single physical or virtual host. Unlike virtual machines, you don't manage the operating system for a container. One of the most popular container engines is Docker, which is supported by Azure. Now, comparing the virtual machines with containers, an easy way to differentiate between VMs and containers is virtual machines virtualize the hardware, while containers virtualize the operating system. When it's possible to create and deploy virtual machines as application demand increases, containers are designed to allow you to respond to changes on demand. With containers, you can quickly restart in case of a crash or hardware interruption. The decision of whether to use a VM or a container depends on how much flexibility you need. If you need to completely control the environment, then you might choose a VM. If not, then the portability, performance, characteristics, and management capabilities of containers might be the better choice. You might expect questions giving situations of where to use containers and where to use virtual machines. Manage containers. Containers are managed through a container orchestrator, which can start, stop, and scale out application instances as needed. There are 2 ways to manage both Docker and Microsoft-based containers in Azure. One is Azure Container Instances and one is Azure Kubernetes Service. Azure Container Instances offers the fastest, simplest way to run a container in Azure without having to manage any virtual machines or adopt any additional changes. It's a platform as a service offering that allows you to upload your containers, which it runs for you. Azure Kubernetes Service is a task of automating, managing, interacting with a large number of containers. Is known as orchestration. The Azure Kubernetes Service is a complete orchestration service for containers with distributed architectures and large volumes of containers. Now, what is Kubernetes? As you may have noticed, using containers to host applications and other processes has gone mainstream. As more and more workload is moved into containers, management systems are needed to handle the demands of containerized applications at scale. One of the most popular options for managing container-based workloads is Kubernetes. What is Kubernetes? Well, it combines container management automation with an extensible API to create a cloud-native application management powerhouse. At its core, Kubernetes manages the placement of pods, which can consist of one or more containers on a Kubernetes cluster node. Along with pod management, Kubernetes can also manage container storage and networking. Additional containers can be created using a variety of methods for extending the Kubernetes API. With this flexibility, operators can be created to perform custom actions. The extension capabilities of Kubernetes make it a great platform on which to build SaaS service. Microservice. Containers are often used to create solutions by using microservice architecture. This architecture is where you break solutions into smaller independent pieces. What is microservice? A microservice is just a web service that is small, well-defined scope, and is loosely coupled from any other web service. Usually, you don't build just one microservice, but rather your organization adopts a microservice architecture that consists of a collection of microservices, each one self-contained and implementing a single business capability. Each service has a separate code base, which can be managed by a small development team. Each microservice is to be deployed independently of every other microservice in the organization. Each microservice is an island unto itself. Then what happens when you need to work with multiple microservices in a single application? Anyone, if you have any idea, you can unmute yourself and speak. Okay, so I'll be continuing. So the question is that as we were discussing that each microservice is to be deployed independently of every other microservice. Then what happens when you need multiple microservices in a single application? Let's see. Microservices can communicate with each other by using well-defined APIs. The internal implementation details of each service are encapsulated behind the interface. However, typically, you would want to reduce those interdependencies and try to introduce an orchestration or management layer in the higher level consuming application that coordinates calls to various lower level microservices and combines results. A microservice architecture solves some problem and is more appropriate when you have a large application that requires a high release velocity and have complex applications that needs to be highly scalable. Microservice can benefit from the management and hosting capabilities of several different Azure services. Now talking about Azure functions. Serverless computing is the abstraction of servers, infrastructure, and operating systems. With serverless computing, Azure takes care of managing the server infrastructure and allocation and deallocation of resources based on demand. Infrastructure isn't your responsibility. Scaling and performance are handled automatically. You are built only for the exact resources you use. There is no need to even reserve capacity. Serverless computing includes the abstraction of servers and event-driven scale and microbilling. Azure has two implementations of serverless compute, Azure Functions and Azure Logic Apps. Azure Functions can execute code in almost any modern language. Whereas Azure Logic Apps are designed in a web-based designer and can execute logic triggered by Azure service without writing any code. Now, functions versus logic apps. What is the difference between the two? So if we talk about state, functions are normally stateless, but durable functions provide state. Logic apps are always stateful. In terms of development, functions work on a code-first approach, whereas logic apps works on a designer-first approach. About a dozen built-in binding types. In functions, we write code for custom binding. In logic apps, large collection of connectors are used. Enterprise integration pack for B2B scenarios build custom connectors. Actions, each activity is an Azure function. So we write code for activity functions. Logic apps, large collection of ready-made actions are already available. Monitoring functions use Azure Application Insight and Logic apps use Azure Portal and Log Analytics. For management, functions use REST API and Visual Studio, whereas Logic apps use Azure Portal, REST API, PowerShell, and Visual Studio. Execution context, functions can run locally or in the cloud, whereas Logic apps runs only in the cloud. What is Azure Virtual Desktop? Azure Virtual Desktop is a desktop and application virtualization service that runs on the cloud. It enables your users to use a cloud-hosted version of Windows from any location. Azure Virtual Desktop works across devices like Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and Linux. It works with apps that you can use to access remote desktops and apps. You can also use most of the modern browsers to access Azure Virtual Desktop hosted experiences. Now, why do we really use Azure Virtual Desktop? Because it provides the best user experience, and secondly, it enhances security. Azure Virtual Desktop provides centralized security management for users' desktops with Azure Active Directory. also known as Azure AD. What are some key features of Azure Virtual Desktop? It has a simplified management, performance management, and multi-session Windows 10 deployment. Explore Azure Networking Service. Now, what is Azure Virtual Networking? Azure Virtual Networks enable Azure resources such as web apps, databases to communicate with each other, with users on the internet, and with your on-premises client computers. Azure Virtual Networks are an infrastructure as a service resource that allows many types of Azure resources, such as Azure Virtual Machines, to securely communicate with each other. They also enable some platform as a service resource to communicate with the internet or with on-premises network. Azure Virtual Networks or VNets also allow for segmentation and isolation when implementing multiple virtual networks in Azure. Azure Virtual Networks provide the following key network capabilities. Number one is isolation and segmentation. Number two is route network traffic. Number three, communicate between Azure resources. Number four, connect virtual networks. Number five, communicate with on-premises resources. Number six, internet communications. And number seven, filter network traffic. Let's discuss briefly about all of these. Isolation and segmentation. Virtual networks allows you to create multiple isolated virtual networks. When you set up a virtual network, you define a private IP address spaced by using either public or private IP address ranges. Internet communications, a VN in Azure, can connect to the internet by default. You can enable incoming connections from the internet by defining a public IP address or a public load balancer. Communicate between Azure resources. You'll want to enable Azure resources to communicate securely with each other. You can do that in one of the two ways, either by virtual networks or service endpoints. Communicate with on-premises resources. Azure Virtual Networks enable you to link resources together in your on-premises environment within your Azure subscription by three mechanisms: point-to-site virtual private networks, site-to-site virtual private networks, and Azure Express Route. We'll discuss about this in the later slides. Route network traffic. By default, Azure routes traffic between subnets on any connected virtual networks, on-premise network, and the internet. You also can control routing and override those settings using route tables and border gateway protocols. Filter network traffic. Azure Virtual Network enables you to filter traffic between subnets by using the following approaches: network security group and network virtual. Now talking about connect virtual networks. As you can see in the diagram, you can understand how entire system works, how it is connected by VPN gateway that we'll discuss later on. Subnet. So you can link virtual networks together by using virtual network peering. Peering enables resources in each virtual network to communicate with each other. As you can see, there are individual virtual networks and they are all connected through peering. These virtual networks can be in separate regions too, which allows you to create a global interconnected network through Azure. Now UDR is user-defined routing. UDR is a significant update to Azure's virtual networks, as this allows network admins to control the routing tables between the subnet within a VNet as well as VNet, thereby allowing for greater control over network traffic flow. Azure VPN Gateway Fundamentals. A VPN gateway is a type of virtual network gateway. Azure VPN Gateway instances are deployed in Azure Virtual Network instances and enable the following connectivity: connect on-premise data centers to virtual networks through a site-to-site connection, connect individual devices to virtual networks through a point-to-site connection, and connect virtual networks to other virtual networks through a network-to-network connection. All transferred data is encrypted in a private tunnel as it crosses the internet. You can deploy only one VPN gateway in each virtual network. So this is important to remember that you can only deploy one VPN gateway in each virtual network. You can be asked various tricky questions regarding such statements to confuse you, and you have to select one. So continuing, you can deploy only one VPN gateway in each virtual network, but you can use one gateway to connect to multiple locations, which includes other virtual networks or on-premises data centers. When you deploy a VPN gateway, you specify the VPN type, either policy-based or route-based. The main difference between these two types of VPNs is how traffic is to be encrypted is specified. In Azure, both types of VPN gateways use a pre-shared key as the only method of authentication. Both types also rely on internet key exchange. Okay, so now we'll discuss policy-based VPNs and route-based VPNs. So policy-based VPN gateway specifies statically the IP address of packets that should be encrypted through each tunnel. Key features of policy-based VPN gateways in Azure include support for IKEv1 only, use of static routing, where combination of address prefixes from both networks control how traffic is encrypted and decrypted through the VPN tunnel. The source and destination of the tunnel networks are declared in the policy and don't need to be declared in the routing tables. Policy-based VPNs must be used in specific scenarios that require them, such as for compatibility with legacy on-premises VPN devices. Route-based VPN, if defining which IP address are behind each tunnel is too cumbersome, route-based gateways can be used. Key features of route-based VPN gateways in Azure are suppose IKEv2 uses any-to-any wildcard traffic selectors, can use dynamic routing protocol, where routing forwarding tables direct traffic to different IPsec tunnels in this case. The source and destination networks aren't statically defined as they are in policy-based VPNs or even in route-based VPNs with static routing. Instead, data packets are encrypted based on network routing tables that are created dynamically using routing protocols such as Border Gateway Protocol. Deploy VPN gateways. To deploy a VPN gateway, you will need some Azure resources and some on-premises resources. Required Azure resources are virtual networks, gateway subnet, local network gateway, virtual network gateway, and connection. Required on-premises resources are a VPN device that supports policy-based or route-based VPN gateways and a public-facing IPv4 address. Azure Express Route fundamentals. Now, Express Route lets you extend your on-premises network into the Microsoft Cloud over a private connection with the help of a connectivity provider. With Express Route, you can establish connections to Microsoft Cloud Service, such as Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365. Now, there are two different layers of an open system interconnection, OSI model. Layer 2, this layer is the data link layer, which provides node-to-node communication between two nodes on the same network. Layer 3, L3, this layer is the network layer which provides addressing routing between nodes on a multi-node network. Express Route connectivity models supports three models that you can use to connect your on-premises network to the Microsoft Cloud. You can see in the image 2 of how it's working. So number 1 is Cloud Exchange co-location. Now, co-located providers can normally offer both layer 2 and layer 3 connections between your infrastructure, which might be located in the co-location facility and Microsoft Cloud. Point-to-point Ethernet connection. Point-to-point connections provide layer 2 and layer 3 connectivity between your on-premises site and Azure. Any-to-any connection. With any-to-any connectivity, you can integrate your wide area network with Azure by providing connections to your offices and data centers. With any-to-any connections, all WAN providers offer layer 3 connectivity. Now, you can be asked a question that you can see these pictures, the 3 different co-location connections, and you can be asked to label each of them with which is correct, like which one is cloud exchange co-location, which one is point-to-point, and which one is any-to-any. So it's important that the images you see them properly, because you could be asked accordingly. Azure Storage Account Fundamentals. Azure Storage is Microsoft's cloud storage solution for modern data storage scenarios. So we're discussing disk storage. Disk storage provides disk for Azure virtual machines. Applications and other servers can access and use these disks as needed, similar to how they would in on-premises scenarios. This storage allows data to be persistently stored and accessed from an attached virtual hard disk. Azure Blob Storage. Azure Blob Storage is an object storage solution for the cloud. It can store massive amounts of data, such as text or binary data. It is unstructured. Blob Storage can manage thousands of simultaneous uploads, massive amount of video data, constantly growing log files, and can be reached from anywhere with an internet connection. One advantage of blob storage over disk storage is that it does not require developers to think about or manage disk. Data is uploaded as blobs, and Azure takes care of the physical storage needs. So Azure Blob Storage is an important topic. You can definitely expect at least one question from this part. Sorry. Azure Files Fundamentals. Azure Files offers fully managed file shares in the cloud that are accessible via the industry and standard server message block and network file system protocols. Azure Virtual Machines or Cloud Service can mount a file storage share to access file data, just as a desktop application would mount a typical SMB share. Typical usage scenarios would be to share files anywhere in the world, diagnostic data, or application data sharing. The illustration you can see on your right is how Azure Files is being used to share data between 2 geographical locations. Here you can see Western US and Europe. Azure Files ensures the data is encrypted at rest, and the SMB protocol ensures the data is encrypted in transit. One thing that distinguishes Azure Files from files on a corporate file share is that you can access the files from anywhere in the world by using a URL that points to the file. You can also use shared access signature tokens to allow access to private asset for a specific amount of time. The example below shows how you write that URL, which contains storage, resource URI, and SAS token. Blob access tiers. Data stored in the cloud can grow at an exponential pace. To manage costs for your expanding storage needs, it is helpful to organize your data based on attributes like frequency of access and planned retention period. Azure Storage offers different access tiers for your blob storage, helping you to store object data in the most cost-effective manner. The available access tiers include Hot Access Tier, Cool Access Tier, and Archive Access Tier. Hot Access Tier is optimized for storing data that is accessed frequently. For example, the images for your website could be classified in Hot Access Tier. Cool Access Tier optimized for data that is infrequently accessed and stored at least 30 days. For at least 30 days. For example, invoices for your customers. Archive Access Tier appropriate for the data that is rarely accessed and stored for at least 180 days with flexible latency requirements, for example, long-term backup. Again, you can expect questions from this part to classify which tier stores long-term backup, which tier is used for images for website, etc. Okay, so Azure Database and Analytics Service. So first we'll discuss Azure Cosmos DB. Azure Cosmos DB is a globally distributed multi-model database service. You can elastically and independently scale throughout and storage across any number of Azure regions worldwide. Azure Cosmos DB always supports schema-less data, which lets you build highly responsible and always-on applications to support constantly changing data. You can use this feature to store data that's updated and maintained by users around the world. Azure Cosmos DB is flexible. This level of flexibility means that as you migrate your company's database to Azure Cosmos DB, your developers can stick with the API that they are the most comfortable with. Azure SQL Database. Azure SQL Database is a relational database based on the latest stable version of the Microsoft SQL Server database engine. SQL Database is a highly performant, reliable, fully managed, and secure database. It's a platform as a service database engine. It handles most of the database management functions, such as upgrading, patching, backups, and monitoring without user involvement. SQL Database can be the right choice for a variety of modern cloud applications because it enables you to process both relational data and non-relational structures such as graph, JSON, SQL, and XML. Azure Database for MySQL. Azure Database for MySQL uses a LAMP, that is Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP data storage component, which is used for web hosting. This line is very important. You can definitely expect one question from this part. Azure Database for MySQL is a relational database service in the cloud. With every Azure Database for MySQL server, you take advantage of built-in security, fault tolerance, and data protection that you would otherwise have to buy or design, build, and manage. Dynamic scalability enables your database to transparently respond to rapidly changing resource requirements. You only pay for the resources you need and only when you need them. Azure Database for PostgreSQL. Azure Database for PostgreSQL is a relational database service in the cloud. The server software is based on the community version of the open source PostgreSQL database engine. Your familiarity with tools and expertise with the PostgreSQL is applicable when you're using Azure Database for PostgreSQL. It is available in two deployment options. One is single server and the other is hyperscale. Single server, the focus is on rapid application development and accelerating your time to market, rather than having to manage virtual machines and infrastructure. Hyperscale, as the name suggests, is the option where you want to horizontally scale queries across multiple machines by using sharding. Azure SQL Managed Instance. Azure SQL Managed Instance is a scalable cloud data service that provides the broadest SQL Server database engine compatibility with all the benefits of a fully managed platform as a service. Azure SQL Managed Instance makes it easy to migrate your on-premises data on SQL Server to the cloud using the Azure Database Migration Service or native backup and restore. You can see below the migration process flow: discover, access, migrate, cut over, and optimize. Big data and analytics. Microsoft Azure supports a broad range of technologies and services to provide big data and analytics solutions, including Azure Synapse Analytics, Azure HD Insight, Azure Databricks, and Azure Data Lake Analytics. Azure Synapse Analytics, which is formerly Azure SQL Data Warehouse, is a limitless analytics service that brings together enterprise data warehousing and big data analytics. Azure HD Insight. Azure HD Insight is a fully managed open source analytics service for enterprise. It's a it's a cloud service that makes it easier, faster, and more cost effective to process massive amounts of data. Azure Azure Databricks helps you to unlock insights from all your data and build artificial intelligence solutions. Azure Data Lake Analytics. Azure Data Lake Analytics is an on-demand analytics job service that simplifies big data. Instead of deploying, configuring, and tuning hardware, you write queries to transform your data and extract valuable insights. So with this, we end the second learning part of today's module. We'll be continuing with the third and fourth tomorrow. And
Thank
I
you.
might ask a few questions tomorrow regarding this so that you are well prepared for it. Okay, over to you, Bravesh. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Amisha. It was a really wonderful session. So I'm sure that most of them have learned a lot from these two sessions. So now it's time to, for all the attendants to give your attendance. So I'm going to share my screen, and you all have to scan the QR code, and you have to fill the form so that we can get your email IDs. And after 3 days of attendance, we can give you the discount coupons and the MLSA certificate of participation. So just a second, let me share my screen. So everyone, this is the feedback form QR code. You can scan this and fill the form, and then you can leave the meeting.
Hello?
Yes.
Bro, the chat option is not working here.
Yeah, the chat option is disabled so that there will be no spams. But you can just unmute yourself and ask the doubts.
No, bro, I don't have any doubt, but how to scan that? The scan option should be in the chat box or where?
No. I'm sharing the screen. Can you see the screen? You just scan the
Yes,
QR
screen is
code.
visible, but no scan code is available here.
Okay, then are you logged in from your mobile phone or your laptop?
A laptop.
Okay, then take your mobile phone and you can take a photo of this, and then you can scan the QR code later if you don't know how to do it.
No, bro, the scan code is not visible right here.
Not visible?
Yes, it is not visible.
Okay, let me share my screen again.
Okay.
Is it visible now?
No, bro. The last one is the big data and analytics.
Yes, Bhaiya, it's visible.
It is visible. It is visible
Yeah,
at my
Bravesh is
end.
visible.
Yeah. So whoever is facing any issues, please try check your internet connection once more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bravesh is visible. It's
Okay. I'm leaving the screen like this. It will be appearing after a few minutes if you leave it like that.
is it session ended now?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. You can just scan this QR code, fill the form, and then you can leave the meeting.
I filled the form.
Excuse me? Did anyone say something right now?
No, I said that I filled the form.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you can leave the meeting. Yeah,
Okay.
try to join tomorrow at 10 a.m. Okay.
Yes, sure. Thank you for the session.
Yeah, welcome.
Excuse me.
What?
Actually, I wanted to ask. I just filled the form twice because of internet connection.
It's
So
okay.
there is no problem, no?
Just
No,
make
there's
sure
no
that
problem.
you email ID.
Yes, yes. I have submitted that. Only it
Okay.
has been submitted twice.
No issues. No issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, Via.
Hello.
Via. Now I filled the form. Now can I leave?
Yes, sure. Try to join tomorrow as well. Okay.
Yes, Via. Thank you, Via.
Welcome.